your life back together and do good things, you got to get past the guilt. It'll debilitate you. And here's the great news. God will use you for great things in the future. Now, if you're not a Christian, not religious, saying, "Oh, stop this God stuff," let's put it this way for you. The things you learned the hard way because of what you did that you shouldn't have done have educated you to help other people and to do some really powerful things in life. The future does not have to be a continuation of the past. Understand? All right, let's take a couple of calls really quick. Here's one. This is area code 832. Hello, you're on the Dr. Joe Show.
Hi, Dr. Joe. You can call me Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Glad to have you with us tonight. Well, yeah, you waited a long time. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you're here. How can I help
No
you
problem.
tonight? How can I help you
Yeah,
tonight?
I don't know that it's a whole lot about the topic tonight, except that I hope my husband can get to the point of wanting forgiveness. But I think my first question is just, I feel like I'm enabling him. So I'll just kind of tell you the background. I mean, he left home about 4 months ago, actually about 5 months ago. He is in limerence. And I have been being the safe, not for the first month or so, but I've been the safe place. I've kind of done all the right things in that. Like, I've been focusing on what I could change. And so in doing that, so he's not in the home. So I don't even know if there is a way to enable somebody that's not even in the home. I think that's more for if they still live there. But I just kind of feel like a doormat, and I'm just wondering, just being so nice and just kind of validating all of his hurts and all these things. Is it just, am I making it too easy for him? Like, because he seems, like in the valley pretty much, but how do I, at what point what do I do?
Okay, let me ask a question or two. I want to make sure I understand this, because if you're being warm and kind and friendly, that's one thing. But when you say enabling, it makes me think that you're doing more. So is he still, did you say he's not living at home?
He's not living at home. No.
Okay. And is he involved with you said he's in limerence, so is he living with her?
No, they're not living together. No.
Okay.
No.
And
but they're definitely a relationship, and I really feel like he may be in phase 3 because I do see some vacillation.
Okay. So when I hear you say am I enabling, what you're saying is, am I going to make sure I hear this right? This is what I'm asking. That what you're saying is, because of the fact that I continue to be nice, he doesn't feel any compulsion to do the right thing. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I feel like he just doesn't have to make any kind of decision because I'm just being so cordial and I'm not making him feel guilty. Kind of his family and everything, and because he's kind of really, he's real dominant. And so I think anyone's scared to kind of step on his toes because he kind of won't talk to them anymore if they do. And so he has no one really making him feel the guilt. I guess what he doesn't have is he doesn't get to see his kids every single day. He doesn't get to put them to bed at night. He doesn't get me sexually, that kind of stuff. I guess that's what he's not getting. So, is that enough?
Well, only you can decide that, obviously. But if you feel like you're enabling, and if you feel like, and for those that don't understand what we mean when we say the valley is when a person is in a situation where they feel they don't have to do anything differently. For example, in a situation like with Sarah, a husband who's involved with somebody else and doesn't feel like he has to do anything either in that direction, like being, moving in with her, or doesn't have to do anything in Sarah's direction either, because right now Sarah's being nice to me, the other person's being nice to me. Hey, I can just do what I'm doing because there's no problem. That's what we mean when we talk about the fact that people are in the valley. Sarah, what we usually say here is that if you can tolerate the valley and it's not doing damage to you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, all those kinds of things, then there is value in that because you still have some communication with the other person, and that creates the possibility, at least, of that person taking bricks off the wall and, reestablishing a relationship. But at any point when that becomes destructive to you, to your own emotions, or destructive to him in the sense that, wow, he's easing on further the other way, or if you have kids, destructive to them, then it's time to do something. So I'll give you an example. a gentleman that I have talked to several times over the last year, and he has allowed his wife to be in the valley for a year. And I kept telling him, because he'd tell me, this is killing me, it's destroying me. Well, if that's where you are, then my suggestion is that you go ahead and make some boundaries. And if the boundary even leads to things like divorce, then you need to do that. Not because of the fact that you are wanting to end the marriage, but because of the fact that she's moving further and further away from you. And so in this valley, she's actually headed the other direction. So if you're going to do something now while it still can have an effect. It took me a year to convince him to do that. And the week he did, she came back. Now, I'm not saying that if you do it, it'll instantly make him come back. Please hear me well. I don't want to mislead
Heading
you.
in the other direction. What was heading in the other direction? Like
getting closer and closer to the other person.
Okay.
Closer and closer to the other person, like, spending more and more time there, maybe even moving in with each other. That's definitely moving the other direction. That when a person's in a situation where they don't have to make a decision, they'll often just coast. Coast. Is that what he's doing?
Well, I mean, like I said, I felt like there was a middle stage where it was like, look, I am dating someone. We are not together. There was that stage where I didn't feel a lot of, and then lately there have been moments that I've felt some things and I've caught onto some things where he's just like, you could tell he's really confused again. He's not ready for divorce.
Good.
All these things. That's why I'm saying, so I don't know if that means that they are spending more time together, but that's because, he's starting to make it to where he's with her every other weekend, all weekend. He's getting more comfortable with spending, but I thought that was good. The more time they spend together, the quicker the limerence could end. That's why I was kind of getting okay with that. But
yeah, and it is true that when they get together, the limerence does start to fade, but because of the fact that he's still married to you, it won't fade as fast.
Yeah.
In other words, it fades faster if they're totally together and every other thing is moved out of the way, so there's no fear factor involved. Okay, but I understand the logic of what you're working toward. So you have seen some signs of it moving back toward you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Just not so definite that he's leaving. Just kind of like a lot of, like, sometimes he'll come over, and it doesn't happen a lot, but all of a sudden he will have all these emotions and want to just stand there and hug me for like 5 minutes. And he won't say a lot, but you could just tell there's like a lot of passion, like a lot of like, kind of confusion in that way. And then I don't know. And then he seems to be afraid if he thinks I'm going to tell him something bad, he'll say, what are you about to, is this a divorce? Are you about to send me, like, as if he's worried about me sending him papers kind of thing. I'm guessing. So, but by the way, we have great communication now, better than we ever have. He's actually, that was another one of my questions. I have been focused so much on me and what I did wrong in the relationship, but I heard you on a call with someone, and the way she was describing her husband was exactly like I would describe my husband, and you were calling that destructive behavior. So now I'm kind of to the point where I'm validating all of his hurts and his feelings and not bringing anything that he communicated wrong or anything that he did wrong. In the marriage, I'm not bringing those things up. At what point do I bring those up? After, maybe if he decides to reconcile, and I wait until then to even mention any of those things?
That's a great question. It really is a good question. No, I think at whatever point you're having good conversations, what we try to get across to people is don't take responsibility for everything, because that works against you as well. And don't repeatedly bring up, like, well, I shouldn't have done this, or I'm sorry I did that. Once you've said it, let it go. Don't keep bringing it up. But at some point, could there be? I think absolutely, particularly if you're having a really good conversation where it's being kind of open. You can say, can I talk about some of the things that I wish we could fix so that we could figure out how to be back together again? And you can just tell him, it's when you do things such as, just make sure it doesn't come across as an attack. Okay. Because when people are attacked, they want to defend themselves. And therefore it usually comes out better if you do it from the I standpoint. Like, whenever you do this, I felt ignored, that kind of thing. So it's not you ignored me. It's like when sometimes I felt ignored. And here's one other idea. The next time he's holding you and for like 5 minutes, sometimes people really do need to be told what to do, but not in a way where they feel like they're being told what to do. Let me see if I can make that make sense. People tend to react negatively if you say, this is what you need to do, this is what you have to do. They back off from that. But sometimes people really do want to be told what to do. And one of those situations where you can tell he's feeling this deep passion. He really does miss us, and he really does have a part of him that wants to be here. And one of those things you can say something like, I understand that you have these mixed emotions. And if you would like, I can help you move back in here. And then you let it go. Mm-hmm. You don't push it. You don't press it. You just say something like that. And then you let it go so he doesn't feel like you're trying to push or press. But it's kind of like planting that idea in his head. I'm here right now. But you don't want to give the idea, I'm going to be here forever no matter what you do, because then he stays in the valley a lot longer.
Mm-hmm. I'm still wearing my ring. That brings up something else where he's feeling like I'm hanging out here forever. I wonder, before he was, anytime I would be just going out with girlfriends just to dinner or something like that, and I was dressed as I was dropping the kids off, he kind of aggressively always wanted to know, well, where are you going? Who are you going with? And I would kind of wanted to seem as if it was a mystery, so I would just kind of try to avoid the question. I mean, nothing bad, but I kind of maybe wanted, I didn't lie or anything, but I just kind of let him still kind of wonder a little bit in a nice way. Good. And it was making him really angry. It started to make him very, very, very angry, because he's kind of a dominant type person anyway. And from the hurt and the anger and all that stuff. So I decided that I wasn't going to play games, and I was just going to be completely transparent. So when he asked me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I went to dinner with some girlfriends. So now I'm completely transparent. I have my ring on. That's another way I feel like I'm just completely enabling him, because if he doesn't have to check in anymore to know that I'm still waiting. He just kind of knows that I am because he sees my ring and he knows what I'm doing.
So you might want to consider this then. There's a possibility. Stop wearing your ring. And when he says, where did you go last night, or where are you going, you say something like, and you be very kind and very gentle, like, I'm happy I was happy to answer those questions before, but because of the fact that I'm living alone now, those are really my decisions. And you do it sweetly and kindly, and you don't answer his question. Now, if he starts to get angry, very gently say, please don't get angry. Understand that in the situation I'm in, I've got to be making some decisions about my own life. And you still don't tell him where you're going. So you don't fight with him. You don't argue. Now, I'm not suggesting that you must do that. I'm just telling you, since he's reacting that way, that might be something you can do to kind of jar him a little bit off center here. Just do it very carefully. And if he gets really angry, back off. But, just do it so he can know. I'm assuming you sound relatively young. Are you?
I'm 39.
Then you are young. Okay. And you sound very intelligent. You also sound very articulate. My guess is that if you wanted male attention, you could have some. You probably have already had men who've let you know that you would get male attention. I'm not suggesting that you go do that because you're still married, but I'm suggesting you have the confidence of, I'd love to have my marriage back, but if he doesn't come back, I will be okay in my life, because that kind of confidence in you actually works to an advantage here, both for you, that's what it's really for, it's for you, but also toward him. You're not rubbing it in his face.
He really is terrified of that. So I was wondering if I should use just a tiny bit of that, or,
Yes. I suggest that you do. Just be gentle, be careful, and don't push it too far. But yeah, I think you should. Now, your area code is what, like Houston? Is that where you are?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So there's like a gazillion things to do in Houston, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I appreciate your faith. I appreciate the fact that you want your marriage back together. But it might be time to do some of these things to get him a little off center without doing something drastic, because you don't want to do that.
Okay. And I know you guys say limerence is the 3 to the 36 months. Is there an average or a median or any type of is it literally just, do most of them sit in one range, one area? Because he's been out for, go ahead. You've
seen a thing called a bell curve at some point, right? Where it kind of goes up, and at the middle is the highest point, then it comes back down. It's a kind of a bell curve, so that more of them would be in the middle than either side.